The reason Islam makes worse societies is because they have a doctrine for cousin marriage. Now, notice Daniel didn't say, no, you can't fuck your first cousin and marry her. No. He didn't say that because he probably believes that you should. He probably believes it's fine. Now, let me get into my argument for why Christianity makes better societies than Islam, and it's pretty simple. Islamic societies breed an inbred population. Next slide, please. Muslim inbreeding has been occurring at a high rate for about 1,400 years since the early Islamic period, encompassing most of the land still occupied by Islam today. It spread from the 8th to the 15th century, moved into Persia, North Africa, South Asia, where it remains and has created some of the dumbest fucking human beings on planet Earth. The most common type of inbreeding is first cousin marriage. The rates of first cousin marriage in comparison to Christian nations is staggeringly high, even in comparison to regions occupied by Arab Christians. When a nation has both Christians and Muslims, Muslims are often double or higher than Christians. Example, India, Lebanon. Next slide, please. Pakistan at 65%. 65%, meaning more likely than not, you're having sex with your cousin, and if you're not, you're the weird one. Okay? For the low IQ members of MDD, that means these people are more likely than not having sex with their aunts or uncles' children. Saudi Arabia, 50 to 58%, with an average 76 IQ. Who would have thunk it? UAE, 54%, 82 IQ. The crown jewel of the Arab world, you are more likely than not to be banging your first cousin. Iran, 40%. It goes on and on and on, and it just never gets better. Next slide, please. Thank you. Compared to Christian countries, let's take a look. Usually less than 1%. Now, I wonder why Christians build better societies, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's keep going. We want to pull up the slide here, moving right along. As countries become more Christian, inbreeding declines, right? We can see this from church intervention in Spain, 20 to 30% post-Reconquista. Catholic Church banned cousin marriages for commoners, papal dispensations sold for royals. Modern Western Europe, it's not just the cultural norm, but let me tell you exactly how much of a cultural norm it is. Even in European nations where marrying your first cousin is legal, they don't do it because of the ecclesiology. Isn't that wild? Africa shows the more Christians and less Muslim the societies become, the better they do. Let's just take a look at Nigeria. Okay, we can go down the list here. 50% Nigeria, 20 to 30% first cousin marriage. Isn't that crazy? Now let's move right on down. You can see South Africa, Muslim 1.5%. Very low to negligible in the national prevalence of cousin fucking. We can continue to go, right? The bottom 20 least productive sub-Saharan African countries. Wouldn't you know it? They're all Muslim. 99% Muslim in Somalia. Very high. 60% first cousin. Let's look over at Niger. 99% Muslim. 60% cousin marriage. In other words, everywhere Islam goes, the IQ goes like this because they all are fucking their cousins. Not joking. Go over to the next slide, please. I want to show you this is a famous case. These are called the rat people of Pakistan. It's a condition known as microphalics. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I have no idea. And it's caused by excessive inbreeding. When's the last time you went to a European country and saw that? You don't see it. Inbreed, yeah. Basically, there's increased homozygosity, I think that's how it's pronounced, for deleterious recessive genes, and it is the strongest causal link for why the IQs are so low. Genetic risk. Inbreeding raises the chances of inheriting 2 copies of harmful recessive genes. Brain development impact. Harmful genes can impair neurodevelopment, reducing cognitive potential. IQ reduction evidence, first cousin offspring lose 3 to 4 points on average, and closer inbreeding can cause larger deficits. They've been at it for 1,400 years. Whew. Higher prevalence equals greater risk. Populations with widespread cousin marriage show more individuals with lower cognitive performance. Generational compounding over successful generations. Harmful genes accumulate. One of the big Muslim copes you'll hear from Daniel tonight. Well, it's only 1.5% for genetic problems for normal people who aren't having sex with their first cousin. Well, that's true. He says it only doubles to 3%. That's very low. No, it compounds. See, if you hump your first cousin and then those kids hump their first cousin and their kids are et cetera, et cetera, et cetera down the line, guess what happens to your IQ? Guess what? You'll never guess. Anybody got a guess? It goes down. The negative consequences of a low IQ. 80 IQ versus 100 IQ person. Income 50 to 70% lower. Welfare dependency 4 to 6 times higher. Literacy less than 10% at less than 85 IQ. Obesity up almost 2 times. Chronic disease up to almost 2.5 times. Life expectancy less than 70 IQ. Or 75 IQ, down 5 to 10 years. Intergenerational poverty, 4 to 6 times. Almost every study available shows that IQ entering the low 80s, Muslim countries, affects nearly every aspect of life in a negative way. Economic prospects, criminality, mental, physical health, happiness metrics, and both at the individual and societal level. In fact, study shows that when a country has a sub-90 IQ average, they find it difficult to have basic innovation, infrastructure, professional class, and other basic needs of a functional society. Is that sounding familiar yet? Now, here's the thing that's interesting. Modern societies don't require everyone to be a genius. Just look at me. But they do rely on a distribution of abilities, and you can see their roles below. 70 to 85, basic job, practical skills, routine labor. That's Islam. That's almost every Islamic nation, ladies and gentlemen, 70 to 85. Sometimes up to 2 standard deviations lower. Whew. Inbreeding itself over generations causes massively compounds that lead to negative consequences. And you can see the risk curve there. You see how the genetic defects increase every single generation. Moving over, I just want to point this out on the last slide. Islam took an ethnic people that were at the heart of being the top of civilization. And through generations of Islam and inbreeding has turned them into the lowest IQ, some of the stupidest people on planet Earth. Literally. You think I'm being mean. I'm not. They're literally some of the stupidest people on planet Earth. Everywhere Islam goes, inbreeding increases and societies become worse. Where Christianity goes, inbreeding decreases, so societies do better in almost every material way. So it's clear here that my argument summarized, though this isn't its entirety, is that Islam creates huge societies with large swaths of people with IQs so collectively low, they would be considered developmentally challenged, borderline retarded here in the West. Not kidding.
Muslims have also had their civilizations that were also thriving, that also had conquest, that also had art, literature, poetry, all kinds of beautiful things that we as human beings value. It's not just IQ. You're taking this atheistic argument, which is baffling to me. Why you as a Christian would have this kind of IQ fetishism? You're not a white nationalist. IQ is not the end-all, be-all of human existence. I am happy, I'm fine with having a 90 average IQ country that abides by traditional values, that abides by whether they be Christian or Muslim. I actually prefer the low IQ Christian countries that value marriage. They don't have degeneracy. They don't have prostitution. I value those Christian countries even when they have a lower IQ, a 90 IQ, an 80 IQ. That's they're living beautiful lives. Yeah, you can make fun of them. Oh, they have donkeys pulling their carts. You can laugh, but they're living beautiful lives as Christians or as Muslims or any other religious group.
Well, I guess ignorance really is bliss.
Oh, good one. That was a neat one.
Slapping your dress. So look, let's point this out. Let's point this out. Let's point this out. Right? We just want to look. We haven't gotten personal with each other. We can go the rest of the debate. We both got a jab in. All right, that's fair. So here's the thing, though. Right? This is still not a refutation of my argument. The historical standard is Christians had lower IQs back in the day. Yeah, and they didn't build modern civilization back in the day. Modern civilization requires professional middle management, 100 to 115 IQ, right? 85 to 100 for skilled labor. What they're talking about is just basic day laborers. These people are very low IQ. And by the way, I'm going to even make the claim that they're really choosing Islam anyway. They can't really think about it that hard, right? So the question becomes, right, as we're kind of diving into this, I just want to point out one more time, the argument is around a singular Christian principle. The singular Christian principle is that we're not allowed to marry our first cousins. That's in our ecclesiology. And I don't care if you're a Protestant, right? Almost no Protestants do this, right? No Catholics do this. Orthodox, this is forbidden as well. It's not that you couldn't find some sect somewhere, some small society somewhere which practices it. I'm sure that that's the case, but by and large and overwhelmingly it's not. With Islam, the opposite's true. By and large and overwhelmingly they do. So we're basing this on a singular principle, which is Christian, and that's what I want a refutation for. Why is marrying your first cousin for the purpose of building low IQ societies better than not doing that?
Go ahead, Daniel.
Again, it's not a causal relation. Islam doesn't mandate marrying your cousin. It's not like we're saying we want to keep IQ low, so marry your cousin. You keep getting the causal chain wrong about this. The second point that I want you to address is that when we look at IQ increasing, that is associated with more atheism. It is directly correlated with higher levels of atheism. The higher the IQ goes, the more people become atheists. This is a bad thing. I would assume that Christians would agree more atheism is a bad thing. I think that, yes, modern society is not all it's cracked up to be. I don't know if you guys have been looking around, but it seemed like I've felt, at least myself, that over the past 5 years especially, first with the pandemic and now everything that's happening in the world where World War III is about to break out, I think the modern world is a dystopia. I am waiting for, nuclear holocaust to destroy us all. I don't believe in this absolute value of modern society, and therefore I don't agree with your premise that high IQ is something valuable in and of itself. There are many things to point out being wrong or bad with high IQ. Again, I prefer to turn the clock back 200 years, where Christians had these traditional Christian societies. Muslims had traditional Muslim societies. I prefer the low IQ. I prefer the low technology society.
We have to switch it over. Andrew, 90 seconds.
Can I just point this out? That none of those degenerate things that he just pointed out, which I agree with him, are the cause of IQ. I think you're having the problem with the causal link, sir. Let's point this out. And this is really important to point out. One more time, he didn't contend with the argument. The argument is, how do you make a superior society which is better for society? And you know what? All you've done right now is just argue this. Literally, I'm Daniel Kikikachu, and I prefer a low IQ society. That's his argument. Now, look, I did not expect you to bite the bullet that you would have a preference for a low IQ society, and therefore we should continue to have sex with our family members to achieve said low IQ society. But over here on the Christian side, well, we're just not willing to do that. So here's what's really important here to remember as the argument structure goes on. Daniel is literally giving a prescription at this point. He's giving you an ought. We ought to have dumb fucking people. That is his ought. My ought is different. My ought is you being intelligent does not restrict you from Christianity or Christian ethics. And we look at the IQ differentials in Christian nations, and we can see firsthand that that is true. So the thing is these are not mutually exclusive claims. When he says higher IQ leads to secularism, I could just as easily say higher IQ leads to Christianity, because all the Christians are way higher IQ. So the thing is like, which of those moral values do you not prefer? Which of them? Which of these Christians don't want degeneracy? They're fighting against it as well. The only reason you've made these successful inroads is because your enemies are so stupid that you can conquer them. And anytime you've tried to conquer the technologically advanced West, you can only do it via immigration, because you cannot collectivize to spare yourselves from the very nuclear war you're currently terrified of, because your people groups are too stupid.
Switch it over. Go ahead, Daniel.
How much time do we have, James, for this?
90,
To the back for this
back and
period.
forth. We have until maybe it's about 30 more minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's good. 30 more minutes. So, 30 more minutes of Andrew saying that Muslims are dumb. Okay, that's great.
Well,
I'll try to be more I'll try to be more substantive than that. So first of all, Andrew, I'm not sure if you know this, but IQ is more highly correlated with race than it is with cousin marriage. Please address the race issue.
Yeah, so I mean, that's really simple to address. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if that's a correlate. You know what else is a correlate? Fucking your first cousin. That's a correlate. That's a massive correlate for lowering IQ. It wouldn't matter if it was inherent, let's just say, for instance, that white people had higher IQs on average than the average Arab, right? Let's just say it for the sake of a hypothetical. It doesn't actually matter that much because we know one thing that's going to bring the IQ down: fucking your first cousin. So the thing is, since that is the case, and it's objectively the case, right, I can still make the prescriptor that your societies would be a lot better off if you had 85 to 100 skilled laborers, 100 to 115 IQ professionals, at least in middle management, at least. And you said it yourself, right now you're terrified of nuclear war. We are terrified of nuclear war all around the nation, right, or all around Muslim nations. You're probably terrified of Zionists who are right in your own backyard. I get all of that, Daniel, but your people group aren't smart enough to defend themselves against these people. Christian nations are. We're smart enough to defend ourselves from people groups who want to wipe us out, like yours, right? So that's what's important here. The reason why you need to at least have an IQ that's above, I prefer lower IQ, 70 to 85, the reason you need that is because you need to be able to defend and protect yourself. You can't have these strong families he's talking about if you can't defend these strong families he's talking about. You can't have these great values that he's talking about if you can't defend your own people group because you're at the technological mercy of another people group simply because you won't restrict a single behavior. That sort of rigidity has destroyed these once great lands. He's right. They did have beautiful art. Nice. They did have beautiful culture. They had beautiful everything. And then Islam came along and allowed them to inbreed themselves into literal stupidity. So again, how do we not build these better cultures? I've refuted every argument you've had. All you do is make my argument for me.